Matt Bernier, Dan Illman taking a look back at the Grade 1 Champagne Stakes from Belmont Park this past Saturday afternoon. For 2-year-olds, one-turn mile. They break from the gate. You're going to notice there's a lot of heat early on, a lot of horses jockeying for that early position. You're going to see a couple of horses that we're going to see stick around toward the end, but ultimately, Firenze Fire on the far outside, he takes back, lets everybody bash heads early.
What a beautiful decision from Arad Ortiz on Firenze Fire, the number 12, because he broke one of the fastest breaks of all, and he's eventually able to take back and not lose a lot of ground. I was very surprised to see the 8, Avinu Malkeno, a horse that had shown tactical speed, the ability to sit off the pace in his first few starts, beyond the lead in here, and they're going fast.
And of all times to be going to the lead, facing Open Company for the first time, a really talented New York bred, but he's out there and you see the opening quarter, 22-4. They're going to get a half and 45-4. Keep an eye on the horses just a little bit behind them, and you see those familiar Stone Street Silks. That's Good Magic for Chad Brown. Down on the inside is Enticed. That's It's Tricky's Baby for Kieran McLaughlin. This is a horse that is a little bit green. Meanwhile, on the outside now from the back of the pack, you're going to start to see this horse, Firenze Fire, really start to roll. He's splitting horses. He's going to angle out and he's going to carry on that run.
And this pace is really working to Firenze Fire's benefit right now. There has been hitting from the start. Good Magic, the number 6, still a maiden, $1 million baby and only his second lifetime start. He's going to make the first move into this pace. He's going to make the lead, but the last move is the best move. Keep an eye on that Godolphin horse, Enticed, though. This is what's known as a learning effort. He broke well, was taken back, in behind horses. He's going to finish okay for third. He's one to follow.
Cowboy Carmen, just outside of Enticed, ran quite well here as well. But you see, in hanging on his left lead, it is what it is. That's Firenze Fire. Again, Good Magic tried, and like you say, Enticed, a very promising effort. May not be able to get there just yet, but he's one to keep an eye on going forward. The number 12, Firenze Fire, is now a multiple graded stakes winner. He wins the Champagne, pays $24 on top. Good Magic rounds out your exacta, $6 to place. The $1 exacta comes back $85. The 50-cent try with Enticed underneath comes back $397. Firenze Fire, again, he's 3 for 4 lifetime. He adds a grade 1 to his name. He'd already won a graded stakes race up at Saratoga. Little bit of a no-show in the hopeful, but you'd heard that maybe he had a little bit of an illness, wasn't feeling great. Jason Service had an unbelievable 2017, and it sounds like you continue on with this horse, but you and I are a little bit dubious about ultimately how far he wants to go.
I think there's a distance question when you look at this pedigree. Poseidon's Warrior, basically a late-running sprint type. Jason Service is having just a breakthrough 2017, a remarkable run. But I think that Firenze Fire not only has the distance and two-turn question to answer in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but he has the Bolt d'Oro question to answer. When you see him hanging on his left lead, refusing to change all the way through the stretch, it's hard to imagine making a mistake from a mechanical standpoint and beating a horse that's shown as much ability as Bolt d'Oro. He still has a lot of work service to do with Firenze Fire.
Well, and you know what? That's kind of the elephant in the room for all these horses. Even as good as a horse or promising as Good Magic looks are Enticed, and we'll talk about them in a moment, along with Firenze Fire. How many of them really want to take on a horse like Bolt d'Oro, where this was a fine effort from Firenze Fire, but he had a beautiful setup, and he still only earned a 90 buyer? That pales in comparison to what Bolt d'Oro's already done.
Bolt d'Oro, triple-digit buyer speed figure, and impressively taking the front-runner stakes around 2 turns. Yeah. But when you have a situation with a horse like Good Magic, you could run in a maiden race where you'll probably be 2 to 5 for a $90,000 purse, or you have a chance perhaps to run second for, what is it, $1 million or $2 million now for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile? That's a lot of cheddar for a horse that costs 7 figures. I like the things that Good Magic did in this race. He settled behind the pace. If you recall in his debut, he was in against Hazard, and he was chasing throughout, and you got the feeling in that sprint race that extra distance would help. And I think the extra distance helped here. I just think that Firenze Fire got the best setup. I like that when Good Magic was confronted in the stretch, he really dug down towards the inside, fought to the end. The gallop out was okay. There's a lot of potential with this horse. The Breeders' Cup might be too much too soon.
Enticed is a horse that I kind of feel the exact same way about, where the Breeders' Cup, I understand connections, you have ambition, you want to go after it, you think you've got a nice talented one. I don't have any question about the talent and the potential here. I just wonder, boy, does it feel like a horse that needs some more seasoning?
I'd love for the connections to wait for a race like the Remsen 100%. At Aqueduct going 1 1/8. This pedigree, I think, is really for distance and 2 turns, and that's what he would get in a race like the Remsen. Enticed in this race, again, was close to that fast first quarter of 22-4, then took back, got some dirt kicked in his face, was in and among horses in the stretch. And Cowboy Karma had some momentum on him on the outside, and he still fought back and refused to be necked for third. It was a very promising effort considering it was only only start number 2. I think this horse has a lot of potential.
Has it got the measure of Good Magic in the career debut, but a lot of that had to do with circumstance. He was out there walking on the front end. Good Magic was in chase mode from gate break. It kind of felt like when the real running started here, Has It came up empty.
I mean, he really never got a breather. He and Honorable Treasure and Avino Malcano, who basically finished a length apart in 5th, 6th, and 7th, respectively, were up and on the fast pace. And if you want to give them a little bit of extra credit or forgive them a little bit for their off-the-board finishes, you can certainly do so. I didn't like the way Has It finished up, however. I think Honorable Treasure now might need a little bit of a cutback in distance. And Avino Malcano, I think if they had to do it over again, they wouldn't have been so aggressive coming out of the gate. Remember, he's a New York bred, I believe, of Malcano, so they have options with him down the road as well.
Before you give up on the idea of open company and graded stakes company with Avino Malcano, would you give him another opportunity going back to those sort of rating tactics before you just said, well, maybe you can't hang with these?
I think so. The problem is, where do you run him next? I mean, I'm not sure a mile and an eighth at this point is really going to be his friend. I mean, there might be a New York bred race coming down. I believe a mile race coming up in New York. So Avino Malcano has a lot of potential. I just think this race did not set up from him from a pace standpoint. He tried hard in the lane, but you know something? That pace just really took the gas out of all of the pace setters and prompters.
Although there was a lot of speed and a lot of pace signed on, and in a perfect world that sets up for a horse like Bahamian who misses the break as badly as he did. Do you want to just give him the benefit of the doubt and say he completely blew the break?
Here's draw a line through this race, because I think our friends at Timeform US actually had Bahamian out there on the lead.
Yeah.
And that's probably where he wants to be. And when he missed the break, it was just about over for him. And I'm not going to fault him for not passing horses in the stretch. We hope he's okay. Sometimes horses grab quarters coming out of the gate, but it's a very stressful situation in a big field when all of a sudden you are last and you are an inexperienced horse. I'm not sure if Bahamian is a true star or a true graded stakes horse, but this race should be stricken from the record.
Jason Service is having a monstrous 2017, and he continues to add to that with Firenze Fire, who is now a Grade 1 winner, taking the Champagne last Saturday at Belmont Park, and he earns a 90 buyer in doing so.